This is Dr. John Tolson, and you're listening to the Disciple Making Podcast. The last few months, we've been talking about this whole concept of disciple making. In Matthew chapter 28, verse 19, the scripture says, and Jesus says, therefore, go and make disciples of all nations. And so if you take the 269 times the word disciple is used in the New Testament, put it in the top of a funnel, do your research, look each verse up, each word up in the context of that verse. What comes out of the bottom of the funnel are three things that disciple making means in the New Testament. First of all, we've discovered a couple weeks ago that it means a person that is a learner. But we also said that true learning, biblically speaking, only takes place when it changes how you live. And then this past week, we talked about the fact that a disciple, secondly, is a follower. And it really kind of comes from an idea of something like an adhesive, something that sticks to something else. In this case, it's an individual follower of Jesus that sticks to Jesus. We said the implications of following him are very demanding. But today we're going to look at the third thing that disciple making means in the New Testament. And this is the one that most people, I believe, in our country that are followers of Jesus leave out or don't understand or aren't participating in. The third thing a disciple means is a disciple is a reproducer. The scripture says in 2 Timothy 2:2, Paul talking to young Timothy, and the things you've heard me say in the presence of many witnesses, these entrust to reliable men who will also be qualified to teach others. So in other words, on just a brief reading of that, you can see that Paul had discipled or built his life into Timothy, and he said, Timothy, I want you to find reliable people to build what I've taught you into them and do it in such a way that they then will teach it to others, and so that there's that ongoing exponential reproductive factor. So what is this whole thing of being a reproducer? Listen to this. Discipleship is never an end in itself. It's always a means to an end. God is not building into your life or my life to end it, but in order to multiply it. The Lord wants to build into your life to multiply the truthfulness of the scripture and the tremendous news of Jesus Christ coming to rescue us, to build that into the lives of other people in such a way that they will build it into the life of other people. In other words, this is to be the lifestyle of the believer. This is what we're supposed to be doing as a follower of Jesus Christ. So we are to become a carrier of the real disease of knowing Christ and making him known. So the question then becomes, what if we just preached? What if we just had churches that preached the gospel? Wouldn't preaching in churches get the job done? Well, let's look at that for a moment. Most evangelistic crusades like Billy Graham, Greg Laurie, and others will tell you that in a crusade, about 4% of the people that attend the crusades will make a commitment to Jesus Christ. So, for example, let's say a preacher preached to 100,000 people per day. 4% came to Christ. That's 4,000 coming to Christ daily. If you did that for 365 days, you preached every day, that would be 1,460,000 people per year. If you did that for 16 years, that would be 23,360,000 converts. That sounds pretty good. That old boy would probably be up for a raise in that church. But now, let's use the model of disciple making. Let's say you took one person. No, let's take it two. You as one person take two people a year. You go through a process with them to disciple them. And we'll talk about that in another edition of the Red Glasses. So one person takes two people for a year. You build basic truth into their life and their faith as you disciple them. At the end of that year, each of those two take two, and you take two new people. And there's no attrition, there's no fallout. Do you know how many people you'd have at the end of year 10 just because you have discipled two, who then each took two at the end of that year, etc.? You would have 59,000 people. If you took 10 people that did that, who took 2 a year, at the end of 10 years, you'd have 590,000 people. If you're in a big church or even a middle-sized church, if you took 100 of your members and they each took 2 for 10 years with no attrition or fallout, you would have 5,904,000 people. This is God's plan to change the planet. So the question is, let's make it personal. Who are you discipling? Who are you building your life into in such a way that what Jesus told us to do could be accomplished through you? How about in your church? In your church, are people trained and equipped and discipled to multiply in the lives of other people? Let me just put it very, very clearly. If you or your church are not making disciples, who are making disciples, then we're simply not doing what Jesus commanded us to do. I hope that gets your attention. You think about that. Thanks for listening to the Disciple Making Podcast. Check out our website at thetolsongroup.com and sign up for my weekly encouraging videos called Red Glasses Talks to come to your email every Monday morning. You can also find me at Dr. John Tolson on social media. I'd appreciate it if you'd leave me a review and share with a friend.